I take offense to that. Mike McAllister joining us now. Mike, explain to us what's going on with this Eddie Lampkin situation. I did a double take when I saw that he was in the portal. I was like, is that right? And I was like, oh, it's a legitimate account. And then I said to those in the office at Channel 9, I said, well, Mike McAllister's reporting it now, so it must be true. So what's going on with this whole thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. It appears that he is filing for some sort of waiver with the NCAA in order to get an extra year of eligibility. It seems like it's centered around perhaps his first year, which was the COVID year, and I think he only played in 10 games or something to that effect. But I'm honestly not sure it's going to go anywhere. My guess is, if I had to, that it wouldn't, because he played in 4 years after the COVID year. So even if they said, okay, that doesn't count against your eligibility, I believe he redshirted that year. I'm not really sure what merit his claim would have, unless I know he left TCU to go to Colorado under some controversy to some extent. There were some accusations made against Jamie Dixon, the head coach at TCU. Perhaps he's going to argue some sort of hardship surrounding that, because he did leave the program before the season ended, and he's going to say that, maybe it shouldn't count against the year of eligibility. Not 100% sure, but either way, it's in the NCAA's hands. My guess is it probably won't go anywhere, but he's certainly going to try and see if he can get another year to play college basketball.
It appears Lucas Taylor's trying the same thing. Do you know anything on that front?
I don't have any details about if he's filing a waiver or what his situation is. It does look like that early in his career, he only played, I think, 10 games, 12 games, something like that at Wake Forest. So perhaps there's a redshirt possibility somewhere in there. But, he's certainly going to try and play another year if he can as well.
Would you take either one of them back if you were Syracuse?
I mean, if Lampkin wanted to come back, I understand what the limitations are, but I do think there's a role there that he could potentially play. I just am not sure that I would want him to play 30-plus minutes a game and have to rely on him as the primary big, but I guess I would. Lucas Taylor, I think, is probably best for both to move on, but either way, I think you can kind of tell from the way things are going in the transfer portal that Syracuse is kind of looking towards a different style of big. And if that's the case, my guess is perhaps, they wouldn't be all in on Eddie coming back.
Are you surprised you haven't heard anything about the outgoing players from Syracuse? Chris Bell's the only one we've heard a little sniff on.
Not really. I think, I guess I maybe expected there to be a little bit of something to some extent. Maybe not that, they're going to high major programs, but, maybe, going to a G5 type school, something like that, a mid-major type school, getting some interest and some visits and whatever. But they could also be playing things close to the vest and kind of seeing how things play out. But not a huge surprise that they're not top priorities for a lot of schools.
What do you make of what we know so far about who's coming here out of the portal? Two guys from Georgia Tech, the big guy from UCLA who was Defensive Player of the Year in the Summit League the year before. What do you make of the additions so far?
Well, they've got one of the best point guards in the portal in Nathan George. I think that's a huge major splash that should help the team significantly. They also got one of the best shooters in Nate Kings, who's going to be a small forward, maybe even the starting small forward for them. So those are, I think, two really, really good additions. Then the additions that I've seen mixed reactions from among fans are the two bigs. And I think it mainly stems around the fact that they are 6'9" and not 6'11", 7 feet, which I understand. However, what you can see with what Syracuse is trying to do based on the skill sets that they have is that they are athletic, mobile, which means they're going to be better able to switch on pick and roll situations, guard multiple positions, etc., rim protectors, really long wingspan, and can run in the open floor. Now, they're not going to have the back to the basket, low post type of offense that you saw with Eddie Lampkin, but there's other things that they're going to be able to do that Syracuse hasn't been able to do the last couple of years. And so I think that's really where a lot of their the skill set that they were targeting in the transfer portal among their bigs. I also understand that they haven't been, they didn't play a ton last year. We know that Kyle was productive at South Dakota State, but we know with Soare, he was a freshman last year, so he was just kind of getting his feet wet a little bit. But I don't think they're done in the transfer portal, so we'll kind of see how the rest of the roster shakes out.
This has been a popular question, and I realize they're not done yet in the portal, as you just mentioned, but the roster as it stands right now, the fact that JJ and Donnie are coming back, the fact that they brought in Nate Kings, as you said, a shooter that can play, the small forward position, is your expectation right now that Sadiq and Cayenne will come off the bench? If this were the roster, would that be your expectation?
Yeah, that would be my personal expectation. I know if you were to ask the coaches right now, they'd probably tell you something like, we don't know until we get everyone here and see how they all mesh together. But if I'm going based on my personal opinion, yes, that's my expectation, because I think it's hard to project true freshmen that we haven't seen above, guys like Nate Kings and Kyan Anthony. I think he's probably going to play the shooting guard position, and I'm certainly not going to project that he's going to take J.J. Starling's starting job.
All right, so what's next in the portal? You say they're not done. We know they're not done. They've got some more, roster spots to fill. What is on the priority list? What's next?
Well, I know they're open to all positions, so they haven't closed the door on anything in terms of, we're set at the center position or we're set at power forward or anything like that. If my personal opinion, I wrote about this on CuseNation.com this morning. My personal opinion is I think you could use another shooter, whether that's a 2 or a 3 or a combo. I think that would be a nice addition to the roster. I think you could use another forward who's like 6'7", 6'8", something like that, and can shoot. Someone that can play the 3 or the 4. I know they've been in contact with Florida State transfer Jerry Dang, who's 6'9", good shooter, can play the 3 or the 4. He kind of fits that bill a little bit. And then I would still look for another big. Syracuse had to go 3 deep at the center position last year. They've had center injuries the last couple of years, last 2-3 years. So if I'm Syracuse and I can find another big in the portal, maybe one that's got a little bit more size in terms of the 6'10", 6'11", but still fits that the skill set in terms of the athleticism and the mobility and those types of things, then that's something that I'm going to prioritize as well.
Anything from a football perspective that we should be aware of, SU football?
Spring game's coming up this Saturday, I believe, and they've had a ton of recruits going in and out, and I believe they've got the number 12 recruiting class in the country in the 2026 class right now, last I checked. So they're doing some strong work on the recruiting trail right now.
And then lastly, do you have a pick for tonight, NCAA final? Houston, Florida. Who you got?
I think Florida's the better team, but Houston's the better story, Calvin Sampson and all that. So I have a rooting interest, I guess, in Houston, but I think Florida's the better team. So if I had to make a pick, I'd pick Florida.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Same exact thing. I think Florida's better. Would love to see Houston win it all. Our good friend Sal Manine covers the Cougars. He's down there at the Final Four, and hope that he gets to cover a national title.
I don't know if you know this, but going into the tournament, that's who I picked to win it all.
You picked Houston?
No, Florida.
Oh, Florida. Okay. Good for you.
My team got eliminated early, so I picked St. John's.
That Rick Pitino bandwagoner, huh?
Yep. I thought with how they play defensively, they go on a run, and I try to pick a team that's not one of the number 1 seeds. Is usually kind of the way I go about it. It's picking a 1 seed's boring, so I tend to go elsewhere, and thought they were a good pick, and that blew up in my face as my tournament picks usually do. So
I want to ask you one spring game question, Mike. Everybody's going away from them. Syracuse has a battle going on at the quarterback position. Do you think we'll see anything that we can take away from the quarterback position in the spring game?
Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to see some things as far as, the throwing mechanics and the delivery and the accuracy and things like that. So I definitely think you'll be able to see some things. Now, are they going to show a lot of their, more exotic plays or whatever? No, I mean, they're going to keep things pretty vanilla as they usually do. But, yeah, I certainly think you'll be able to see some things from a skill set standpoint, arm strength, accuracy, mobility a little bit. They're not going to run the quarterback a ton, obviously, but you'll be able to derive some things from what we see from the quarterbacks in the spring game, I think.
You think we're going to know who the starter is at the end of the spring?
My guess is that you'll know who QB1 is going into fall training camp, but I think everything is subject to change depending upon how training camp goes this fall. But, yes, I think we'll either have maybe a post-spring depth chart, or Fran Brown will say this guy's ahead or something like that. My guess is yes, that we'll have some sort of idea as spring ends.
I can see it. Like, that's such a football coach move to list them, release the post-spring depth chart and have the or, right? I mean, that's such a football coach move.
Yeah,
I don't know.
have all three of them there.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have some clarity. Mike, good stuff as always. Appreciate you coming on.